Good morning. Are you guys excited for another day of competition? I mean, it has been amazing. In fact, between the qualification matches and the skill challenges, your robots have played over 1,500 matches in 2 days. Well, I'm very excited to be emceeing the finals and the closing ceremonies tonight. It's going to be between 4 and 6 in the HP House on the Autodesk, NASA, and EMC fields. Now, to get to the good stuff, I'm honored to introduce a very special guest to you, U.S. House of Representatives Senior Ranking Member and Chairman of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, Congressman Ralph Hall. I'm going to give you a hug.
Old guys like hugs. Kari, thank you, and I guess I thank you for the things you didn't say as much as I do for the things you did say. I just left Congress yesterday, and I was using worse language up there than I intend to use here, because my plane was supposed to leave at 2 o'clock, and as Congress usually does, the last vote was just after the last plane had left, so I got in here late last night, or I would have been with you some yesterday. But thanks for having me, and let me tell you that I have great admiration and respect for meetings like this, because meetings like this just might save our next generation. Our country is in trouble. And I know it'll make you feel good to know that I'm the oldest guy in the United States Congress. About 2:45 a.m. 3 months ago, my phone rang. I said a weak hello, and they said Hall, and they referred to my ancestry. I know I'm legitimate, but the guys probably didn't think I was for what he called me. He said, "You're the Dean of the United States Congress." I had no idea what he was talking about. Next morning, I turned on TV and found out that that old gentleman, the old senator from West Virginia, had died about the time he saw it on television. A lot of people sit up all night that don't work or have anything to do and watch television and sleep all day. I guess that'd be a good life. Maybe the Congress needs to sleep a few days and let some good things happen up there. But they say to me, I'm 87, where you'll know and not leave any doubts. I am the oldest guy in the House or Senate, and people tell me, they say, don't you think don't you hate to hear people say that you're 87 or you're the oldest guy around? My answer always to that is better than them saying, don't he look natural? I'm not the oldest guy in my block. Let me take a half minute to tell you this, because I think you'll think it's funny. There's an old guy, 89, that stopped me the other day going to the airport. I've got to tell you this. He said, I'm 89, but I'm getting married again. I said, do I know her? He said, no. I said, is she pretty? He said, well, not really. I said, well, does she have a home or money? He said, I don't think so. I said, do you love her? He said, not that much. I said, well, why on earth are you marrying her? He said, she can drive. So don't ever lose faith. And every woman's got something that everybody needs. I see Dave Lavery from NASA was here yesterday, and I know you enjoyed him. Runs the Mars rover program for us. And I think we all know that STEM education is incredibly important. We do there as chairman of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. I'm aware of that day in and day out, as we have men and women who come before us to testify with all of the degrees on their tie and wherever. And I always tell all of them, I admire you, but I don't like you. And they frown a little bit at that. I say, I don't like you because I'm sure every one of you is just a typical guy that ruined the curve for average students like me. I thought in school everything over 70 was wasted. Not this group I'm looking at here. You know what it is to make good grades and prepare yourselves for just what you're doing today and for great service to this country sometime later. STEM education is incredibly important, I think, and we know that, for the U.S. to remain competitive. I would just talk a little bit about the faces I'm looking into here now. the many faces of youngsters who can really renew our nation. I see the corporate sponsors. I see NASA and what a wonderful organization they are. An organization that's brought us pride long years ago. I remember all the early parts. I've been in Congress since 1980, and I've been on the Energy and Commerce Committee and Science Committee all those years because I think it's the two most important. Youngsters, other than prayer, energy is probably the most important word in the dictionary for all of us, because if we don't solve that, we have big problems. If we do solve it, we can solve our own problems. It's up to young minds like yours to give us those breakthroughs. So I just know that among other things, people are mad out there, and the tea parties are mad, and I don't blame them. I saw them come, 1,250,000 of them come to confront Congress, and we listened to them. But I'll say this, they occupied the same territory that others have occupied there, that spent several days there marching on Washington. Even the veterans did that back in my dad's day and time. But these people came, they weren't shaking their fist at anybody, they weren't using any profanity, they were just determined. They really and truly want their country back. And I think what we Democrats and Republicans need to do is probably to forget we're Democrats or Republicans. Remember we're Americans. Remember that we have a nation that's almost on the verge of being violent, because we have to save the next 2 or 3 generations, and believe me, you're in trouble right now. Stay in touch with your people that vote and ask them to vote the way you think they ought to vote, and they'll listen to you. Believe they will, but don't visit them in Washington. Visit them at home, next door to you, when you know them there. We had a knockdown, drag out on Congress yesterday, on the floor of Congress, but we finally passed a budget bill that takes us into the next century almost. And I don't agree with everything in the bill because I've had no chance to really and truly read it. We've had it about 2 or 3 days, and we've been in Congress, been in session ever since. But I know that it's a bill that has an amount certain that we're going to cut, a day certain when we're going to cut it, and I reserve the right to look at what they are cuts and what the cuts are. I don't believe in cutting anything across the board, because you might cut out something that's very vital to you and vital to us to see you grow. Find out what ought to be cut, put it off over there, and then cut it across the board. Maybe that's the way we'll do it. I hope we will. I know we might do like a lady did in school, who was really trying to teach the kids and trying to bring them in and bring their homework and home life into the schoolroom. And she told them that she had an assignment for them to get their parents to tell them a story with a moral at the end of it. The next day the kids came back, and one by one they began to tell their stories. Said, "Tony, do you have a story to share?" He said, "Yes, ma'am. My daddy told a story about my Aunt Karen. She was a pilot in Desert Storm, and her plane got hit. She had to bail out over enemy territory, and all she had was a flask of whiskey, a pistol, and a survival knife. She drank the whiskey on the way down, and she parachuted so it wouldn't break. And then her parachute landed right in the middle of 20 enemy troops. She shot 15 of them with the gun till she ran out of bullets, killed 4 more with the knife till the blade broke, and then she killed the last Iraqi with her bare hands." "Good heavens," said the teacher, "what on earth is kind of moral did your daddy tell you from this horrible story?" "Stay away from Aunt Karen when she's drinking." I guess that was good advice. Let me, thank you. Let me go back to, and I'll tell you one more while I'm at it. There was a boy that didn't like to study, and his daddy was pushing him to study. Have any of you ever gone through that? Dad didn't think you study enough, and the boy was there twitting, and had all other types. He had the music on loud as he could get it, television and radio on. Off he went. And the father was fussing at him. Finally, the dad, just in disgust, said, "When Abe Lincoln was a boy your age, he studied by the light of the fireplace." The little boy answered, "Yeah, Dad, when he was your age, he was president." So you always got to answer to your dad, but listen to him, listen to your parents. I know that you have good parents and people that care for you, love you. You wouldn't be here today. I just want to simply say that education is incredibly important to us. Our future depends on innovation and increasing the workforce of engineers and scientists. I'm looking into the face of youngsters who can renew our nation. And I see corporate sponsors. I see NASA, a group that's brought us great pride in the past, great international respect, and spawned national heroes that we were all proud of. Our future depends on this innovation. The VEX robotics competition showcases this talent and innovation of our nation's youth, and I think it's proven to be one of the most exciting and engaging activities. I'm anxious to know more about it today because I want to honor you sometime later this year before my committee to point out people don't know what you're doing and what you've done and the hundreds and the thousands of people that are involved in and what you give up to be here and what we owe you. These activities attract students to STEM. And as chair of science, space, and technology, I see the epitome of technology here in my presence. I just think, in my opinion, Innovation First International and the REC Foundation are the undisputed leaders in educational robotics for both the classroom and after-school competition. I thank my good friend Tony Norman, who lives about 15 or 20 miles from me. I had no idea that was going on, that it was in my own backyard there, on my own front yard, till I saw. And I was amazed, as I'm amazed at what I see and am told is taking place here today, at what they do there. Somewhere there in Caddo Mills near there, they're firing missiles and they're undergoing experiments that we never dreamed of in Rockwall County, the smallest county in Texas. And by the way, I live in Fate, Texas, which is the smallest city in the smallest county of what was the biggest state and still would be if they'd melt that ice up in Alaska. But I remember the census for my city was 84. And it was 84 for 2 straight censuses. I asked my dad about it. I said, that can't be so. He said, yeah, it makes sense. Why do you say it makes sense? Well, he said, every time a baby's born, a man leaves town. I don't know if that's true or not. Fate's up to 20,000 people now, and there's a mass exodus. I'll just close by telling you good luck to all the competitors, and may the best robot win. Thank you. God bless you.
I would like to echo his sentiment and tell you how proud I am to see how many engineers we have coming up in the world today. It's going to save the world, I'm telling you. So now that you've patiently waited through all of our talking, it's time for each division announcer to take over and hand out some trophies.